You put the picture, so as I say, you see it on screen.
The media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Ambazonia were deprived of such privileges. The privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion. They have suffered cultural genocide for 6 long decades, but not in this age and not with undaunted ABC Amber News on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution on Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Franco-Cameroon colonizers, among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Ambazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, 1992, Ambazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the piper in the media.
The good news is we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
Right now, ABC Amber TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively
to inform the misinformed and disinformed with undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amber TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Ambazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way round.
And like we say it always, Ambazonia must narrate her story accurately. We can do this together, you know, right? You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambertv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team. Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. Ambazonians known for making the most out of everything, ranging from students renting out their rooms in schools when they're out, to feats in the diaspora to free homeland. They have also done so to Monday lockdowns. Lockdowns adopted as one of a civil disobedience move has now been capitalized on by the peoples of Amazonia as a day to keep fit. Monday lockdowns now see people increasing in sporting activities as they respect the lockdown. Meanwhile, Sinra's gunfire exchange is reportedly coming from a village with two houses already confirmed burnt down yesterday, October 11th, 2022, by the genocidal La République du Cameroon terrorist soldiers, as they were unable to lay hands on the dreaded No Pity. Well, it is yet another amazing Tuesday where we have Secretary Martin Mungwa, PhD, F.ASCE, for State of the Liberations Movement, with his focus tonight, the interim government updated war plan, using the language best understood by the International Committee. As we hope to have Lady Ken Clister, Lady Casey tonight, we'll be looking at other recent national happenings, but just after the prime headlines.
And these are the prime headlines for today. Ambazonians respect Monday's lockdown in keeping fit. Today, we will be telling you the monkeypox outbreak has been reported in the Atlantic zone of Amazonia. Also today, a letter has been written to Pope Francis, Bishop Bibi Michael of Boyer, Bishop Nkia Andrew of Bamenda, Bishop Aloysius Fondong of Mamfe, parishioners of the Catholic Church. Well, what is the content of the letter? That you will find out. The question of leadership with the Ambazonian movement, well, sometimes it creates controversy. This will be reviewed today as we compare it with the story of Nelson Mandela. In neighboring La République du Cameroon, man wreaks havoc at police station as ID card production witnesses prolonged delays. Also today, we will be telling you the story of La République terrorist soldiers as they intensify hunt for no pity.
The Amber War Draft Award 22 is here. People, it's time to win again.
This is the time for us to draft until we draft. That must be our slogan and rallying cry now. And along the way, we should be asking ourselves some critical questions.
Are we still enjoying 3 square meals a day? While our boys on the ground lack the basic gear they need to resist the occupiers,
Are we still living a life of luxury and comfort while our brave restoration forces lack medical supplies at the home front?
are we still throwing big birthday bashes while our restoration forces lack basic communication equipment to maximize their efforts?
Are we still going on cruises and expensive vacations while our IDFs on the ground go without food and logistics?
Are we still finding excuses not to make the necessary sacrifices and drafting big while our restoration forces lack the game changing equipment that they so desperately need to bleed the enemy?
On a daily basis, how much are we putting aside for our liberation, knowing that only through the fierce resistance are we going to liberate our beloved country?
Are we providing the federal government and the CIC the means to carry out some of the critical, intelligence, and other special operations across the national territory?
As we ponder these questions, we must remember that a goal that is not funded is nothing but a wish. And we must not let Amazonia die as a wish because we failed to fulfill our patriotic duties by making the great sacrifices befitting a great people.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices. We are enough, so let's draft, draft, and draft until we drop. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It is Award 22. Let us draft until we drop.
The Amber World Draft Award 22 is here. People, it's time to win again.
This is the time for us to draft until we drop. That must be our slogan and rallying cry now. And along the way, we should be asking ourselves some critical questions.
Are we still enjoying 3 square meals a day? While our boys on the ground lack the basic gear they need to resist the occupiers?
Are we still living a life of luxury and comfort while our brave restoration forces lack medical supplies at the home front?
Are we still throwing big birthday bashes while our restoration forces lack basic communication equipment to maximize their efforts?
Are we still going on cruises and expensive vacations while our IDFs on the ground go without food and logistics?
Are we still finding excuses not to make the necessary sacrifices and drafting big while our restoration forces lack the game changing equipment that they so desperately need to bleed the enemy?
On a daily basis, how much are we putting aside for our liberation, knowing that only through the fierce resistance are we going to liberate our beloved country?
Are we providing the federal government and the CIC the means to carry out some of the critical, intelligence, and other special operations across the national territory?
As we ponder these questions, we must remember that a goal that is not funded is nothing but a wish. And we must not let Amazonia die as a wish because we failed to fulfill our patriotic duties by making the great sacrifices befitting a great people.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices. We are enough, so let's draft, draft, and draft until we drop. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It is Award 22. Let us draft until we drop.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
La Republic du Cameroon terrorist elements invaded the village of Ake local government area in Boyo County last night, where No Pity is believed to be hiding after he showed up there in a spectacular October 1st Ambazonia Independence Day celebration in 2022. Serious gunfire exchange is reportedly becoming from the village, with two houses already confirmed burned down early this morning of October 11, 2022 by the genocidal La Republique du Cameroon soldiers. As usual, as they are unable to lay hands on the dreaded No Pity, they easily turn to burn houses, harass and kill innocent denizens. And this is where we begin the full briefings of Under tonight. I am Onyi Okbalance. Tasmat is here as always. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Onyi. Good evening, fellow Ambazonians. It's great to know that the Armed Restoration Forces are not leaving any stone unturned. Ake, the place of this incident, is located in Boyo County, which is sharing boundaries to Dean Village of Noni local government area under Buyi County. The Buyi security team is advising everyone in the area to seek shelter while remaining vigilant and reporting any suspicious individuals or activities to your nearest Amazonian Restoration Forces Command Unit. Buyi County Security, for Undaunted.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.
Ghost Town was instituted since 2017. Monday lockdown brings more health consciousness to southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians, through sports now with the case of 1st October 2017. Adopted as one of the moves to render Ambazonia ungovernable and civil disobedience move, Monday lockdown is taking the people of Ambazonia to another level. One of the activities trending in Amazonia as the lockdown is being observed is the increase in sporting activities. After all, what do they say about physical activities? They are great needs to the body. The number of sporting groups and number of participants keep growing on a regular basis.
Well, sporting activity is now the major occupier to the people of southern Cameroon's Ambazonia on Mondays. Mondays because it is a general observed lockdown in the whole of Ambazonia, given that businesses are locked and offices shut down on Mondays. In respect of lockdowns, people now consecrated their early hours of Mondays for sports. Many denizens in Bamenda talking to Undaunted qualified Mondays as a God-given day for them to give their bodies the right shape and make them more flexible. Most of the activities the peoples of Southern Cameroons do involve in individuals as well as collective sports. Running, group dance, the playing of football and handball are always on the menu. At the inception of lockdown in 2017, though people accepted it, going through the day was a very big challenge, but today it is a day lovers of sport wait for, eat with anxiety. The different colonial administrators in Ambazonia have done all they could to rescue Mondays from lockdown to no avail. Colonial administrators have sealed shops of shop owners for respecting Monday lockdowns with heavy fines paid by shop owners to get the shops unsealed.
Well, in Bamenda, the in-house slave city mayor Paul Achambong bought and put in circulation shuttle buses to substitute cabs on Mondays, given that cab owners on Mondays remains indoors. He equally engaged in the distribution of food items on Mondays, a move to lure the people out of their homes. All these different attempts to kill Monday lockdown have all ended fruitlessly. The people of southern Cameroons now have a new way of survival on Mondays. They have a new way to live in the entire Amazonia. While many have embraced it, to others, it is a day to put the house in order. commune with family, and take part in various development-oriented meetings in the neighborhood.
Mr. Tamani. How are you? The buttocks, the buttocks.
Well, there is a reported outbreak of monkeypox in the Atlantic zone of Amazonia, and in a communique signed by the colonial health boss of the southern zone, Dr. Echo Filbert, yesterday, Monday, October 10th, 2022, two local government areas, Kumba and Mbonge, have been affected by monkeypox. Since 13th May 2022, cases of monkeypox have been reported to World Health Organization from 12 member states that are not endemic for monkeypox virus across 3 World Health Organization regions and continue to be reported in places endemic for monkeypox virus.
Now, since the start of the monkeypox outbreak, and as of 4th October 2022, 20,248 cases has been confirmed of monkeypox, and they have been reported from different EU countries. And now we are getting this report in southern Cameroon's Amazonia. Symptoms of monkeypox may include fever, skin rash, headache, muscle aches, back aches, chills, tiredness, swollen limbs, knots, and these symptoms may only start 5 to 21 days after you are exposed to the monkeypox virus.
Now, monkeypox lasts about 2 to 4 weeks. From a day to 4 days after a fever, skin starts. The monkeypox rash often first appear on the face, hands, or feet, and then spreads to other parts of the body. This stage of the stages of monkeypox, as can be seen on the screen, starts with a flat red rash to hard raised bumps, and then to larger blisters-looking bumps filled with clear fluids, to blisters filled with pus, and finally these blisters crossed over and turn to scabs that fall off. All this happened in a space of 2 to 4 weeks after the symptoms show.
Now, monkeypox can be spread from one person to another, and it has symptoms that largest 2 stages. A person can contract monkeypox by coming in contact with the fluid of an infected person or infected animal. A person can also get monkeypox by coming in contact with recently contaminated materials like clothing, beddings, and other linens used by an infected person or animal through scratches or bites.
Well, now there are no treatments specifically for monkeypox, but because the viruses that cause monkeypox and smallpox are similar, antiviral drugs developed to protect against smallpox may be used to treat monkeypox effectively. The objective of this disease outbreak news is to raise awareness, provide useful information to instigate the right response efforts, and Amazonian denizens must be on the lookout for these symptoms as it is highly communicable, and stay safe.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.
The people of Mamfe has written a letter to Pope Francis, Bishop B.B. Michael of Boyer, Bishop Nkia Andrew of Bamenda, Bishop Aloysius Fondong of Mamfe, parishioners of the Catholic Church. Now, the letter starts with, Dear Pope, we greet you in the name of the Lord. We are certain you have heard about the seizure of some of your church members in Nchang under the Mamfe Diocese. This is due to some of the grievances we will list below. It says, your failure as the head of the Catholic Church to empathize and condemn the repression, oppression, wanton genocide, and displacement of the Ambazonian people. The meeting of your Archbishop with the head of the military of the Republic of Cameroon, who has been killing our people, burning our homes, raping and molesting our women and children. In all of these, you have never made a statement. Such silence is complicit to such diabolical act. In the face of oppression, silence is complicity. You have taken the side of the oppression.
Now, the letter continues to say, if our memory serves us well, Jesus came to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind to set the oppressed free. Have you not heard, and did you not know that we are dying? Have you not heard that, and did you not know that we are being oppressed? The sky has been our only covering, and the grass has been our only beds for the past 5 to 6 years now. For that reason, we don't have too much time to wallow in oppression. We are not in any way organizing a pity party, but we want a swift response. Otherwise, God should be ready to receive his own. Our conditions are thus: 1. We need you to make an open acknowledgement of our struggle and suffering. 2. We need the Archbishop to apologize for holding a meeting with the oppressive general of La République du Cameroon to plan for our demise. 3. We will require a prisoner swap with the release of our Nera 10. Please consider this our last letter to you. If you are ready to talk, we will assign someone we trust to talk for us. Until then, we thank you so much for the freedom fighters, General Iroko of the Ambazonian people. Now, according to Mimi Mefo Info, a man is reported to have broken into a police station in the west region of La République du Cameroon after waiting tirelessly for the release of his national identity card. Now, the incident occurred on the evening of October 10th, 2022. Reports indicate that the man earlier arrived at the police station and asked for his identity card, but was told by the officer on duty that he was not yet available.
Enraged, he began throwing everything upside down. He was finally brought under control after causing numerous blunders, indicated human rights activist David Ebocho. It is reported that the man in question had been waiting for his identification document for a good number of years now. It should be noted that the delay in the release of national identity cards by the colonial government has been a normal phenomenon with adverse effect on the citizens concerned. Thousands of citizens in the Cameroons continues to suffer due to lack of the identification document. In most parts of the country, security officers tend to arrest those found without them, as well as extort money from those whose cards have expired.
Now, what does this tell you? An administration that has lost every creative ability to enhance progress for a people they call theirs. Then you would want to ask yourself, how on earth is it possible at a time when evolution should be progressive, when science should be innovative, when biometrics has come to facilitate protocols and procedures, the colonial government of La République du Cameroon would be retrograde even after purportedly employing these modern methods? Every single day only gives reason why Ambazonians should stay the course for a much more accommodating and progress-oriented system.
All right, and before we continue with the news, of course, before we bring Dr. Martin Mungwa and Lady Calista into the studio, we have this documentary that would want you to watch. Please pay careful attention to this video.
The question, which has stirred controversy for a while within the fast evolving Ambazonian struggle, the independence restoration movement, which for a very brief historic moment has experienced transformational and non-transformational leadership successively and simultaneously would be. Is Sisiko Julius Ayok Tabe in the realms of African politics, heroism, freedom fighting and legendary leadership another Nelson Mandela?
Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela began his life herding sheep and cattle in the rolling hills of South Africa's Eastern Cape. In his autobiography, part of which was written secretly while in prison, Mandela wrote, "I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free. Free in every way that I could know. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut. Free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village. Free to roast mealies under the stars and ride the broad backs of slow-moving bulls. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion, when I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it."
When I went to school, the lady teacher, Miss Mdingane, asked, "What is your name?" I told her my African name, Rolihlahla. She says, "No, I don't want that one. You must have a Christian name." So I say, "No, I don't have one." She says, from today, you are going to be Nelson."
So henceforth, he would be known to the world as Nelson Mandela. As the son of a chief, Nelson Mandela had access to the best education available to black people in South Africa at the time. Studying at Fort Hare University, where he first became involved in student protest, his refusal to accept injustice, unfairness, and inequality would last a lifetime. South Africa, 1941. In his early 20s, Nelson Mandela moved to Johannesburg, where he first encountered the racial discrimination that would later become entrenched in law by the apartheid government. Working on the mines and later as a clerk in a law firm, Mandela pursued his law studies and joined the African National Congress, the oldest black political organization in South Africa.
It was when I came into the African National Congress that I realized that causes are only a part of the African people. That the task of the ANC was to unite the African people and out of them build a nation.
When it became clear that all means of peaceful negotiation had been exhausted, Mandela went underground to lead the armed struggle.
We have made it very clear in our policy that South Africa is a country of many races. There is room for all the various races in this country. There are many people who feel that it is useless and futile for us to continue talking peace and non-violence against a government whose reply is only savage attacks on an unarmed and defenseless people.
Key government installations were targeted for sabotage. Mandela became known as the Black Pimpernel. In 1962, Mandela was captured, charged with leaving the country illegally, and sentenced to imprisonment for 5 years. Shortly afterwards, his ANC comrades were captured with evidence which incriminated Mandela. He returned to court for the Rivonia trial, where he and 8 others faced a possible death penalty.
The very speech which was made by Nelson consolidated the spirit of the people outside, because it was a defiant spirit.
I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the idea of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunity. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if need be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.
The Director of Cabinet at the Office of the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, Eric Ate, with an understanding of the methods of historical inquiry, including how evidence is used rigorously to make historical claims and discern how and why contrasting arguments and interpretations of the past have been constructed, brings an assessment of the objective status of this particular instance of knowledge to be judged, not by some atemporal comparison with given facts, but by a historical investigation in the place of that instance of knowledge being considered.
The very speech which was made by Nelson consolidated the spirit of the people outside, because it was a defiant spirit.
I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the idea of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunity. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.
People of Ambazonia, I hear people come up with this distortion of history that Mandela ruled from jail. I must say, it is laughable because in the first place, South African blacks were fighting for equal rights within their country, while the present-day Ambazonia is fighting for self-determination and to actualize its restored independence. Mandela was the president of the Youth League of the ANC when he was condemned to life imprisonment. He was not the president of the ANC. This fact should be noted. Oliver Tambo was the president of the ANC and was on exile in Britain. He led the struggle for over 20 years while Mandela could only speak to his wife through a hole in a caged glass cell for over 20 years. When Mandela became the symbol of resistance due to his long stay in prison, the world joined his people to protest for his release. You must know that Mandela earned the sympathy and respect of his people because he did not try to usurp power from the free South Africans fighting for him and his people. Mandela remained loved because he did not divide South Africans with the creation of another ANC in jail. Mandela did not send conflicting correspondences from his prison cell to the international community, countering what the free leadership of the ANC sent out. Mandela did not open himself to be used by those who wanted to cause confusion amongst his people by meeting with them, our enemies, La Republique, after the free leadership had already stood their ground in matters like ceasefire, which was being debated. After the Honorable Mandela had earned the love and admiration of his people, he continued being honorable with his actions. He told his jailers that only free men can negotiate. He asked them to leave the ban on the ANC so his president, Oliver Tambo, can come back home. He asked that Walter Sisulu, one of his very sick cellmates, and other prisoners be released so the negotiation goes on, not with him as a prisoner, but with the ANC and Oliver Tambo, the free leader of black South Africans, at its helm. Oliver Tambo flew back to South Africa after more than 35 years in exile. As the president of the ANC, he was received by Mandela himself at the airport. Mandela, who went to jail with the title of president of the Youth League of the ANC, had long been replaced by a number of successful people. Mandela was an ordinary man, but he was not without power. His behavior while in jail had earned him the respect of all black South Africans and sympathizers all over the world. Unlike what we see today, in our struggle with our captured prisoners. Exile and the long fight for freedom had left Oliver Tambo fatigued, and because of that, an emergency meeting of the ANC was convened and Mandela was voted, not as president of the ANC, but as vice president, so he could lead the ANC to negotiations with the white minority government of South Africa. They maintained the frail Oliver Tambo as president of the ANC when those negotiations began. That was Mandela for you, an honorable man who should never be compared to just any Jack or Jill. Oliver Tambo died from his illness, and Mandela was elected president of the ANC. After negotiations and as per South Africa's constitution, since they have an executive parliamentary system, the leader of the party with the majority seats in parliament becomes president. The ANC won the elections and Mandela became president. These are the steps of a man, Mandela, who led his people honorably. This is a man who never betrayed his free leadership. This is a man who looked at the bigger picture with the freedom of his people always taking precedence over his self-glorification. This is a man, Mandela, who never abandoned his spirit of selflessness, unlike some Ambazonian prisoners, who have shamelessly encouraged other Ambazonians to torpedo the efforts of those who are on taking this fight to its logical end, which is the total freedom of our people and the total independence of Ambazonia. That's Mandela for you. The behavior of our brothers in jail has been detrimental to this revolution, and any true Ambazonian must ask them to stop their treacherous anti-revolutionary activities. The one other thing I want to say here is that if Sisiku claims he has his personal government and he has named his so-called vice president, why then did he not send those murderers from La Republic who pulled him out of his jail cell for talks to his so-called vice president who is a free man? What does that tell you? I think all these gymnastics is all about Sisiku doing everything to remain relevant. However, he must remember that he was respected and in a better position when the Restoration Council maintained him as president and Dr. Sako as acting president. But even that arrangement was not good enough for him. I'm quite certain he would rather be in the previous arrangement than the present one, in which he is fast becoming a traitor in the eyes of many Ambazonians. Mandela was loved not because he projected dominance, but because he inspired his people with his respect for the free leadership in their effort to free his people, his country. And he did everything not to split his people. The question is it about the people or about self? I believe it is about our collective freedom. No one person is bigger than this revolution. Ambazonia must and will be free, because this generation of Ambazonians will never let La Republic du Cameroon forcefully rule over us like they did our forefathers. I end by saying that we should stay the course, draft ourselves, remain vigilant, and apply Sisiku's words. Throw every traitor under the bus. Welcome those who openly repent, but always be aware of their past treacherous inclinations. I want to thank you for listening to this video. My name is Eric Arte. I am the Director of Cabinet at the Presidency of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. God bless you, and God bless Ambazonia.
Now, I'm sure that you learned a thing or two from this documentary. Now, I hope the controversies and fictitious ideology would have been cleared after listening to this documentary. You have heard the Vice President. 2 years ago, at the time he was the director of the cabinet.
Well, our duty at Undaunted is to process the news, bring untold stories to the limelight, and inject facts that will clarify debates. Well, director of ABC, our news director, did this documentary 2 years ago when the same debate of leadership and dignity sprung within our ranks. By now, you should know the comparisons between Sisiko Julius Ayuk and Nelson Mandela defies logic. Use these commentaries to do the judgment.
All right, at this point, we would have in the studio Lady KC. It's good to have her. It's been a long while. Lady KC is on Undaunted tonight. How are you doing, Lady Clista? KC, how are you doing?
Oh,
All right, but I'm sure, Star, you enjoyed the commentary, right?
Yeah, actually, it was very concise. The documentary was amazing. It really cleared and debunked the air about the sole purpose of, coming together and working towards freedom. It said a whole lot, and I'm sure our Amazonian viewers and viewers in the diaspora would have learned a lot and seen the differences between collaboration and looking for or fighting solely. I mean, it was really
Exactly.
elaborate.
I'm sure that we cannot link the connection and the movement story. Remember, we told you there's going to be a comparison between the Amazonian movement and what we have with the Nelson Mandela story. All right, let's go for this short break. And when we come back, we'll be sure that Lady Clister is ready.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa.
All right, so coming up next is the State of the Liberation Movement with Secretary Martin Mungwa, PhD. Well, their focus will be the IG updated war plan using the language best understood by the International Committee. But to do justice to this, we would first of all have Lady Kalista here handle this particular section with Dr. Martin Mungwa. Lady Casey, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Loud and clear. Go ahead.
Thank you, girls. Thank you for the great show as usual. Thanks for bringing me on here today. Fellow Ambazonians, ladies, men watching us across the globe, particularly those on home front. I greet you all. Patriotic salutes to you all. Today, I'll be hosting the Secretary of State for Communication and IT for the interim government, Dr. Martin Mungwa. So he will be joining us, giving us updates on the state of the struggle. We've had several events. We've seen some things happen across the international community or say with the powers that be in the world that have stakes and interests in our plight. So Dr. Mungwa will be giving us some information and IG position of certain activities that have gone on, and also coming off the backs of some of the Ambazonians who have, express their stance and views about the liberation movement. So the Secretary of State of Communication will have details in all of this. And also get your phones ready to call and ask your questions after his presentation. When he finished, so you'll be ready to ask your question, want to know what the interim government is doing about anything that is related to the Ambazonian liberation movement. So get ready, get set. This is your regular program on Tuesdays, and the Secretary of Communication is here. He's ready to deliver to you information, education, and inspiration as usual. So let's welcome the Secretary of State for Communication and IT, Dr. Martin Mungwa.
Hello, good afternoon, Casey. Fellow Ambazonians, today I would like to talk about something which is an extension of what happened a week ago during the October 1st independence celebration. I understand the topic that was advertised, language of war, but rest assured, next week I'm going to present a more elaborate presentation on that subject. So today, the topic will be the position of the interim government regarding the meeting convened in Canada. I think this is an important topic, and I would like us to exhaust it. So Ambazonians should know exactly what is going on and why the interim government is taking the position that I'm going to present to you today. So dear Ambazonians and the international community, first 21 gun salute to our ARFs. This afternoon, I want to revisit the President's October 1st message to Ambazonians to highlight the interim government's positions on the ongoing negotiations with La République du Cameroon. Our position is supported by historical precedents and international law. La République du Cameroon seemingly practices a type of bet and switch diplomacy driven by the mistaken appetite of a python to swallow a live crocodile. Unnatural and very hard, if not impossible, to accomplish on this planet. Here are some highlights. Following the vote in the United Nations General Assembly on the 21st of April 1961 to grant independence to Southern Cameroons, which La République du Cameroon opposed, UN Resolution 1608 mandated La République du Cameroon and Southern Cameroons to conference with guidance from the United Kingdom to draft a treaty of union for the Cameroons Federation, guaranteed by the United Kingdom and NATO. It was a mighty chance for La République du Cameroon to quit the devastating cooperation treaty with France of December 26, 1959, which taxed all Cameroonian exports by 80%. Barely 19 days later, La République du Cameroon, under President Ahmadou Ahidjo, decided to mock Her Majesty's government of Great Britain by suing the Harold Macmillan administration at the International Court of Justice. That was a nasty surprise. It is only sad that La République du Cameroon deflated like puff-puff dough, lacking yeast, and had to abandon the court case after Great Britain merely responded to the false accusations. That is what bullies do. They only reign in the land of weaklings. In 1961-1962 in Fumban, La République du Cameroon aborted the first genuine dialogue. The federal constitution was not approved by the parliament in Boya or Yaoundé. President Ahidjo promulgated the draft into law without debate in the lawless fashion of La République du Cameroon. In 1966, they dissolved our institutions and political parties without debate or dialogue in search of a unitary state. In 1972, they changed the form of state between a supposedly two states of equal status without dialogue. The choice in the lawless referendum was between yes or we ostensibly to liquidate the regional autonomy of Southern Cameroons, then known as the West Cameroon State. La République du Cameroon, as greedy as a pig, wanted to control all the limited petroleum deposits found in the southern Cameroon's maritime border with Nigeria. In 1984, La République du Cameroon changed the name of the country by decree, reverting to her former name prior to independence, thereby seceded from the budding federation without dialogue. More importantly, Paul Biya traded the southern Cameroons as a commodity with France in order to realign his country, this time annexing the southern Cameroon state into mere provinces. Mr. Biya now bore the name La République du Cameroon, name in the dreaded 1959 treaty with France. In return for such a realignment by decree, France granted a life presidency to Mr. Biya. That is why he is still in office as the oldest president on earth. In 1993 and 1994, they refused to dialogue with us. In 1996, they refused to organize a sovereign national conference with a mandate for genuine dialogue. In 2003, La République du Cameroon argued to African legal scholars at the African Commission in Bangui, Gambia, that the people of the former British Southern Cameroons are not a people and were therefore incapable of self-determination. The African Court of People and Human Rights struck down La République du Cameroon's argument and reaffirmed the people's status of the people of Southern Cameroons. The Southern Cameroons people are a people, not least because of precedents in international law, a common colonial heritage, language, educational, and legal systems. Our right to self-determination arises in the United Charter and is an ad infinitum. That means our right to sovereign independence out of a failed federation with La République du Cameroon is not limited by time. The geography is ours, and we seek no inch of La République soil. In 2017, they refused to dialogue with a consortium of civil society organizations. In 2019, while in Paris, Mr. Biya bragged to the international community how French-speaking Cameroon had tried to assimilate the southern Cameroon's people, but failed because of identity differences. The time the La République du Cameroon leader claimed the right to grant us a special status, despite never debating with the people of southern Cameroons to determine the popular will. In 2022, they rejected the Swiss-led mediation process for genuine dialogue. La République du Cameroon is now lying to the international community that they've won the war and peace has now returned to Amazonia and reconstruction is on the way. Now, the interim government learned that La République du Cameroon convened a meeting in Canada involving some individuals from La République du Cameroon, some Anglophone federalists, and some Ambazonian actors. It should be noted that because of La République du Cameroon's outright rejection of the Swiss-led process, Switzerland has pulled out as the mediator of any possible talks that were to take place between Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon. Procedurally, for a third party to step up as a mediator of a conflict like ours, which has an international dimension, it is necessary for the prospective mediator to be mandated by both belligerents of the sovereignty conflict. In this case, the Federal Republic of Amazonia, represented by the interim government, and La République du Cameroon, represented by the government of Cameroon, in order to take up the role of mediation. The people of Southern Cameroons honor and respect Canada as a Commonwealth development partner. The interim government of Dr. Sako, representing the overwhelming majority of Amazonians, are not sure about the role of the government of Canada regarding this upcoming meeting. The Canadian government or her agencies have not been officially mandated to take up a mediation role in this ongoing conflict as of the date of this press release. In order to avoid manipulation, a nonchalant attitude, and non-genuine commitment by La République du Cameroon concerning future talks, the interim government suggests that 1. There must be an official commitment by both belligerents, that is, the Federal Republic of Amazonia and La République du Cameroon, of the failed Cameroon's federation to follow through with the talks if a mediator is mandated. 2. Any such talks must be between two delegations, one representing the La République du Cameroon, officially appointed by its leader, and the other representing the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, officially constituted by the interim government, and made up of stakeholders of our liberation movement, depending on the level of the talks and at that instant. The interim government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia is not interested in direct informal talks with La République du Cameroon, whose outcomes are usually non-binding but generate voluminous propaganda in French. All prospective mediation talks concerning this genocidal war must follow official procedures involving the mandated third-party mediator and both belligerents. That is the Federal Republic of Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon of the failed Cameroon's Federation. Thank you. Short live the revolution and long live the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Over to you, Casey.
Thank you, thank you. I did mention that you will bring us a lot of information, education, and inspiration. And from what I gather from that message is that we know La Republic by now. We should know what they're capable of. We should know all their cunning, all their deceitful styles by this moment. So, fellow Amazonians, I would like the technicians to put the number to call on the screen. So those who want to call and ask a question or participate or make a contribution are able to do so. I just need to tell all our callers that the call span will be very short for today. So as soon as the number is on screen, you make sure you do your call, because we'll be doing the calls for just 10 minutes. We'll be taking calls only for 10 minutes period. So thank you so much, Secretary of State for Communication and IT, Dr. Mungwa. That was brief, succinct, and yet full of information for our people. Fellow Amazonians, I hope we have listened. And Dr. Mungwa, why we wait for our people to call? 1 second, I think we have a call. You want to put on set? All right, we have the first caller on, the one and only Tapadi.
Well, I'm actually calling as a first caller to make a correction on the timing. Maybe there was a typo. Let's give opportunities for Ambazonians for the Secretary of State's recommendation to call at least for 30 minutes. I'm sure a lot of Amazonians vexed because of the ongoing or purported conference or peace talks or whatever Canada is, should I even say Canada is hosting? I'm sure they'll want to express themselves. So that was my typo error. Perhaps you want to extend it again for a grace period of 40 minutes or should I say 35 minutes, because we have exhausted 5 minutes. Now, in relation to what Dr. Mungwa just said earlier on, it was inspirational as usual. And I think I picked on something which I want to maybe increase the volume, amplify. Dr. Mungwa actually said the interim government of the president represents the large majority of Ambazonians. I would agree with that, but I think the greater truth of that is that the interim government represents the people of Ambazonia in its entirety by legality, because there was a process from NDLA, from consortium, and that led us to where we are. Ambazonians, you must get these facts, and it is not a rubbing of shoulders. It is not a political movement. And something very vital, if Dr. Mungwa would permit, that I also had signed, is the argument that has been within our fora for the past 48 hours. We brought in the documentary earlier on to enable your understanding, and we hope that clears the air. This will lead me to asking a very practical question to the Secretary of State for Communication and IT in regards with this discussion. The outlook of our government is important, the way we conduct ourselves. When we are purporting to be representing the peoples of Ambazonia, we definitely should present ourselves with some dignity in the first of the international community. Have you, as Secretary of State for Communication, consider to work intra-government and to ensure that government officials in particular and the government as a whole has a properly customized message in their actions, reactions, and statements that is representative of the people we are?
Oh,
Wow.
Thank you, Paddy, for that.
Thank you.
For that question. Of course, the answer will be yes. And remember that intergovernmental activities is not only done through the Secretary of State of Communication. We have the cabinet, obviously headed by the head of state. You can see in terms of examples, some of the communiques and press releases that we issue. And in the past couple of days, I'm sure you've witnessed these press releases sent out to the international community. If you read this press release, it's very consistent as far as our position is concerned. Even going far back, there's been some press releases that I've personally signed coming from my department. And of late, you've seen what has come from the presidency itself and other departments. Yes, and that's a matter of policy that we have to be consistent across the board. We work as a government, and I think I've made this very clear. We are a government. We are not a group of activists, and that's why we present Ambazonia to the international community. We represent Ambazonia in humanitarian efforts. You saw what happened in Nigeria on the 1st of October, what the interim government did in order to rekindle hope in our refugees in Nigeria. And that goes on and on because we are a government. When it comes to the so-called negotiations, you've seen the position of the government over the past 3 years since we had the Swiss-led process, knowing very well that it actually started with the request from the interim government, which was approved by all parties, including our international stakeholders. So there is no doubt in the fact that we have to streamline and we make sure that intergovernmental activities are streamlined to make sure that Ambazonia is presented to the world in a very uniform manner. I think, that's the best I can say now, unless you have any specific concerns that you would like to raise. Over to you, Casey.
Wow, thank you for that response. That was a very, very important question for all Ambazonians, particularly those watching, to understand that Ambazonia is represented in the best way the interim government can possibly do, and every member of the interim government. Okay, we have a caller on the line. It's gonna be interesting. Hello, good evening. Oh God, if the pot. I think reception, we lost them. Let me see if I could call back. Yeah, hello, good evening. You're live on ABC Amber TV, and the Secretary of Communication, Dr. Mungwa, is here to take your question. Oh, we lost them again. Well, I think this caller is really trying to call, and the reception is not the best, and they're calling from home front. So probably that is why.
They can type.
Caller,
If it is possible, can they
Sorry?
type their question so you can do that? Can they type
Oh,
their
yes.
question so you can do that?
Yeah, if you are trying to call from home front and you're not able to get through, please write your question. They're calling again. Yes, hello. Good evening.
Hello. Yes, I'm calling from home front.
Yes.
Are you getting me?
Yes, you're live on ABC. What's your question?
Are you getting me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you move away from your device and listen on your phone?
Yes. I have a very simple question, please.
All right, carry on.
There is no doubt that we are having 4 ages. Yes. There's no doubt that we have 4 ages now or more. And you don't expect, in common sense, for any peacemaker, no matter how good he is, to give invitations to some particular group claiming that they are fully representative or they are the only government. So how are you going to bridge this gap?
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, got it.
Your question.
Yeah, I think I got it. I got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So he says that several IGs. How can an international mediator or somebody determine who to talk to? This is one thing that you have to understand. The international community is not just looking at social media and just assuming that whatever people do, whenever they show up on social media and claim that they are head of the interim government, then they will necessarily mean that they are the people to talk to. There are lots of indicators that the international community uses. I want to make this gentleman understand very well. When we stand here or we sit here and say that Dr. Sako is the undisputed leader, this information is not self-appointed. We don't decide it. This message comes from the international community because they'll be able to do their research. They have a lot of intelligence. They're not just sitting on their chair and then they're just assuming, say, oh, whoever shows up here and talks to us, therefore he's the person representing Ambazonia. I want to make that gentleman understand and be very confident that Dr. Sako's interim government is the leader of the Ambazonian people, because there are lots of things that the international community has done in order to know who is the leader. Even La Republique knows that Dr. Sako is the disputed leader of the interim government. That's why they are running away from talks, because they know exactly what our position is. Let me give you some of the indicators. Take, for instance, the draft of the IGs or the IG splinter groups or the factions that you know. How many of those splinter groups have been able to pull the draft to the level of the interim government under Dr. Sako? You answer the question yourself. And then the next question you may ask yourself is, if they are also the interim government, how are they funding this revolution? It goes without saying that if they don't have a way of collecting funds, then somebody else is doing it for them. So do you agree? Do you accept those people who are being funded behind the scene are most likely by our colonizers to be the representatives of our people? Just common sense. The other point is, in terms of popular education, who is dedicated in educating our people, giving you the facts, making sure that you can make up your mind based on facts, the right decisions? Who else does it? It is the interim government of Dr. Sako. And the next point is, the three of the different factions, which of them has a complete cabinet? You take Dr. Sako, there is a vice president, there's a communication secretary, there's somebody in charge of self-defense, you have humanitarian effort, you have diplomacy. You tell me, if you are thinking that you want to go to a negotiation, which of the IGs are you going to recommend? Tell me the other splinter groups. Do they have a full cabinet today? You tell me. I don't want to call names. You select any of them, and then you can come on screen and tell us the detail about the cabinet. So these are just a number of indicators that will convince the international community which of the factions or the groups actually represent the aspirations of the Ambazonian people. Last but not the least, if you go back to the Swiss-led process, who was contacted directly by the Swiss? It was Dr. Sako. I can assure you that some other person also applied, but they never replied to them because they knew they did not represent the aspirations of the Ambazonian people. So these are some of the indicators. Remember, the international community is not stupid. They are very intelligent. They have representation. They have a lot of network. I can say the spies, intelligence, because that they must do in order to make sure that they don't make a mistake. They have intelligence all over Amazonia that report to them. So they know the facts. So you cannot just sit on your chair and assume that if I decide today that, oh, I'm the president of Amazonia, then they would say, oh, who are you arguing against? Oh, no, somebody else is more important or less important. I hope I have answered your question. We know we are the undisputed leader of the Amazonian people. That is a fact.
Wow. Thank you very much, Dr. Mungwa. Thank you for that very civil, I'll say that's a very civil response and quite simply articulated. We have Paddy again who wants to contribute, and when he contributes, then I'll also respond to this caller and I'll round up on this question from this caller. Paddy, you're live.
Yeah. Yes, thank you very much, Press Secretary, for giving me the opportunity. You, as Press Secretary of Government, chipping into that is important. For those who are calling, please, you cannot call and put on your device. You're going to interrupt and disturb the Secretary of State. He might not even get what you're saying. So when you want to call in, please kindly just get out of your device and then make your contribution. Now, to add to what Dr. Mungwa has said, like Lady Casey said earlier on, Dr. Mungwa, you know, he's a gentleman, and he would want to make you feel happy and definitely use a subtle language. But at this time, when we expect that the interim government or the people of Amazonia and their entirety should not take responsibility for those who have chosen to be ignorant. We may not be very polite like Dr. Mungwa when we want to answer certain questions. The fact is this. The interim government is not just a group. For instance, my name is Tapari King. That you choose to call yourself Tapari King doesn't make you Tapari King. I am the original Tapari King because by legality, by registration, by whatever available procedures, protocols, and law, I'm the person that was named Tapari King. You can wake up every morning to call yourself. Did you fulfill some of these processes? Now, how did the interim government that is led by President Sako come about? It's a question that we have to always answer so that Amazonians get to know it. It was through a legal process and not a clandestine means. I was answering a question that is related to this from one person on Facebook the other day, and that was trying to give some credence to those we call today Coopers. And I'm like, there are no legal basis. I went back into the facts. We had a constitution that was alive and active at the time of the irregularities. And following all the processes and procedures that took place, there was nothing legitimate. And so the best term that they themselves could call themselves, Mike Fusi said it, was to call them Coopers. Now, they are clandestine groups. If you want to call them clandestine groups, it is good, but we know where they're coming from. We know that Cameroon understands divide and rule. Fragmenting these groups and calling them the name that they call us doesn't make them us. And we expect that the international community, like the Tibo Nach and others, are people that are serene, that are diligent. When they come into a community, they know who the people are. And they will definitely go through our documents to understand the legitimacy. And that's why they keep calling Dr. Sako. That's why they keep awarding him. Not because he is purporting himself. It's because by legality, he is the rightful person and the rightful interim government that is leading the peoples of the former British Southern Cameroon to the Amazonia. Thank you, President.
Thank you. I'll just pick up on one thing Paddy mentioned. Paddy mentioned that there's been a process, and this interim government has evolved over time to the current position. And yes, I like I was saying, Dr. Mungwa was very civil and very respectful in his response to that question, because this is not the hour in this revolution to be pampering ignorance, to pamper people who have chosen, because this is ignorance by choice. It's either you are one of them or like them, or you have chosen to be ignorant of the facts and realities in this fight. Dr. Mungwa was articulating the indicators of why the interim government is undisputedly the interim government, the leader of this Amazonian liberation movement. And one of the things he mentioned is financing the ARFs and the refugees and the activities of the revolution, and be able to pull this level of financial resources. And I don't understand why at this point in time an Ambazonian or somebody who have been following or interested or even understand our freedom movement have questions about the other like party called a clandestine group. I have a worse name for them. Not sure if it's ideal to call. So let us refuse. Let us choose truth. Let us choose to be focused. Let us be honest with ourselves and honest with our reality. And our reality is that La Republic, the enemy. We have a caller on the line. I'll just take this caller because we have a very short period of take calls today. Yeah, welcome. Your live. Can you please move away from your device where you're watching us and listen to us on the phone, please?
Good evening, Mr. Mungwa.
Yeah, good evening.
Hello?
Yes, good evening. You're live.
I want to just ask one question, just to add one voice to Mr. Mungwa.
Mungwa.
Hello?
Yes, you're live. Can you go on, please?
Okay, I just wanted to enlighten hearers today for what Mr. Mungwa is saying.
Mungwa,
Dr.
Dr.
is trying to
Mungwa.
tell us that there are so many fractions of interim government. And the one interim government that we know is the Sako government. If there are some other ones, why us? Just to make a first move. We should try to make a first move and sit in the conference to know what their intention is. We know you are the mother of the interim government. So please, my opinion to this interim government is to don't dislike another government. Don't dislike another person. All of us are Ambazonian. All of us are brothers. Please, Mr. Mungwa, this is something
Dr.
that
Mungwa.
tomorrow you people will sit in the same table. Please, if they call you people on the table on the conference, if that is the beginning of I don't know how to put it. That is the beginning. Please let us do it to our children. Our people are dying on the ground, sir. Do something. It should be the beginning of something. Please, Mr. Mungwa, don't drive the people away. Bring them to you. They have created government that we are not even seeing, but we know that you were there before. So what you have to do, Mr. Mungwa, please bring these people on the table. If they call people in Canada, go and sit down and hear what they have said. If it's not good for you, people should walk out. Thank you. That was my contribution to you, Mr. Mungwa.
All right. That's correcting Dr. Mungwa. I keep calling you Dr. Mungwa. Do you want to respond to his view, or do you want me to take that?
I just thank you. The call on the ground. I can understand your anxiety, but I just wish you had listened to my presentation when I started.
Sorry, Dr. Mungwa. We have another caller on the line. I would rather we take this call and then you can respond to everything.
Okay.
Thank you. Comrade UN, you are live on ABC. Fire on.
Okay. You hear me?
Yes, so we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. And for a good job, what when I do for day, say me, I be countryman. I go direct for my village language.
Right.
I'll be very happy to say Lady Casey, you do very good job for day. I'll be happy to say you don't pick my call before you allow our Secretary of State for Communication say me talk.
Okay, we are getting you. We are getting you. Oh, there is connection.
Let him call in again. I think it's important to get his perspective.
Yeah, the line is connected. You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Carry on.
Yeah, I did talk say I'll be happy when you pick my call before my able Secretary of Communication they come. And I want to tell Ambazonian say, now so we didn't know the people them. That call away can't call for day. Now that La Republic agents them. Where I know one time say Mungwa communication is wasting time for answer for these people. Yes. Me not waste time for answer for them. Now, with the southern Cameroonians and Ambazonians, nothing, not day, like the interim government led by Dr. Sako, we get now one interim government. The interim government, when La République they act, we act. We act, La République they act. We don't restore with country, with communities. Maybe now for restore groups them. And when I see say, can be today. Now only the interim government, it don't put out a debunk notice where the people put them inside archives for file them or denounce what it take place for Canada for the all those coup plotters and whosoever where they impose themselves like leaders, none of them not come out there for put out a document where if you put them inside inside file. You know, when we papa they will go for Fumban, they will say, oh, they will agree. They will agree inside the treaty, union treaty day. So when I see some people where they want to impose themselves, they will be like some leaders, and now they want to claim for talk something in favor of us or denounce other countries. Now because they see I'm saying, if they talk, they will be popular. Therefore, can't endorse them. You cannot be a leader and then they are trying to do something. Instead of you putting out a document stating your position, you come for outside, they can't talk and say, oh, we denounce this, we denounce this. Every person, a part of the interim government, when we put out a document to, can reach to you today for against the Canadian whatsoever, what they do for them, know that those people, now La République people, because they don't read there and say, you cannot kick against anything that La République government is organizing. Now the thing where you get for that. So they say I take more time. I want to explain this thing to people that they know. Because when you let Tibo Nagi where he come up for the when you want to come up for your office, it hand files them for the next person. Then you know what talking I say I be talk with Secretary Mungwa this day if he tell me say I say no, they know they do them so. I the 1 year some people they wait for outside it. After so many years, the Rock Canada talk about Ayuk Tabe, say Ayuk Tabe Nasu. That is La République agenda. Where the Bureau Ayuk Tabe talk say they want to sign a revolutionary council, where a revolutionary council means it is short of any government. And that's why they don't go create a military wing of it. They talk say Ambazonian People's Liberation Council. For you cannot be a council. A council exists now inside a country. So if you reduce yourself to a council, it means you be now under La République government where it did it.
Yeah.
Make people not make mistake. Say for talk say Nelson Mandela, it be defined now an internal issue for South Africa.
Oh,
where it be now domination. Yes, it not be now an international issue. If it did not file like that, can't you La République the type of fool we say that marginalized? We know we are not here for marginalization. We are here for the statehood of Southern Cameroon. So Nelson Mandela was fighting injustice, apartheid, and whatsoever racial discrimination within the Republic of South Africa. So you people should not come here and try to contradict it or compare that. Ayuk have already offered an ultimate price. The person who don't offer ultimate price now, mommy happy where don't die. Now I vote where don't die. Now the people where they don't die go for it. And in the days of Nelson Mandela, you woman, Winnie Mandela, if they out there fighting for freeing their people, oppression. But where is Ayuk Tabe's wife till today? No man, not the first see. Only after they go give $50,000 with Tabe and they move for money, go down for you. You know, they ever hear anything from you, from you today. Ayuk Tabe talks, any person where a play foul, they will put it under the bus. And as we talk in relation to Abobala, so when they if Ayuk Tabe supports me, they put Abobala under the bus. Why Ayuk Tabe now? He checks say this is the way he can't try for divide we. It will make APSC. It will make all the schools and they not put it for under the bus. So we brothers and sisters them, make wanna know say the only way we're gonna be take the consortium leadership is abroad now because La République enough leave anything say me work for confront. So me some banoka fool when I say confront this and that. Any person when I see all these grumpy people who they don't come on factions, the way they come on, how they come for SDF and the rest, all of them are people they don't embezzle money. All of them, I will get their names them. All of them combined. Make we stand strong. We stand firm. If some person not put out any document, can't reach you today where the interim government don't put them. And I know saying those people are there now for one Cameroon. I always salute for all mommy and papa the way they did for home from say when I get for resist these people, condemn them, and when I stand for our own right. Now so it be. Without which the Republic, it will can't take not only our territory, it will take we land them, it will change all the chiefs, it will do everything. Tomorrow, now when I say that when I be the cry say, oh, they will bring French for our class. If the Republic, it can't get an edge on you people. It will put French in an official language. It carry now a certain zone put up for littoral. Carry it one put and so. Then after now, they can't go tight with the people there. But we will win. We will win because the righteous, they don't stand strong. The AR, they don't stand strong. People, they draft. We know they kidnap people. We know they do anything. We contribute with money and all those kind of things. If any person, it come for ABC television, they not respect with authorities where they put up for it. We get the SOS for communication. His name now, Dr. Mungwa. You know who come for they kind of talk say or Sako, this comes and say Paji, now secretary, director for communication. We get for uphold our institutions. We not feel go for any talk. Me they not can lie when I say, oh, me when I send interim government, me go send even at the last person for LG and go for the no.
Thank you.
We don't want person me to go for they go make all that talk there for backdoor. If they talk then they will be open. Why are they hiding it? So interim government is not supposed to send any person to go and represent us because any decision they go and take in the presence of any member of the interim government is going to be binding. Thank you. Sorry for taking too much time.
Thank you, Comrade UN. Comrade UN have summarized the whole thing, and we'll take maybe one more caller, and then we'll round up. And actually, Dr. Mungwa, I agree because you know, there's a lot happening within this struggle, within this revolution, and we cannot respond to anybody who choose to be dishonest to themselves. Like I was saying originally, we cannot waste time to explain things to adults. And this our brother who called and said our people are dying. Because of that, we should accept crumbs. That's the same thing Wiba was saying when Wiba said in La Republique Parliament that La Republique will have to torture our people, punish our people, deprive them of every source and form of livelihood, kill and burn down villages so that any crumbs, any bone that left over they throw to our people because of the suffering they have meted on them, they will succumb to whatever they do. And that is what UN have just put in another way, that it is never going to be better with La Republique. It can only be better for Ambazonians in our free homeland. Dr. Mungwa, I don't know if you have any other contributions to make. I'll wait for Alan call and we'll be rounding up in 5 minutes. If we don't get any call, you can also just go ahead and make your closing remarks.
No, Casey, let me say a few things here. I think I really congratulate UN for making that very elaborate explanation of why the interim government is doing what it's doing. You also have to understand that it is actually erroneous to think that this meeting is taking place in Canada. It is actually in Quebec, in the French part of Canada. So the Canadian government is definitely not aware of this meeting. So it is the typical backstreet negotiations that La République is very accustomed to. You can understand that it appears that the reason why they went to Quebec is because they gave some contracts to some Quebec contractors to build a stadium in Douala or in Yaoundé, and now they want to take advantage of it and then to disguise as Canada and invite us there. These are just a bunch of French speakers who think that they have a right to dominate us, and that is definitely not going to fly. I would like to take this occasion to thank Bo Herbert, who wrote a very magnificent, a masterpiece about this negotiation. I think, as we said before, the interim government stands for justice, stands for fairness, stands for repentance. I like the position Bo Herbert has taken, and I want to use this platform to thank him for his scholarship. He has written a very good piece on this so-called Canada negotiation, and I would encourage every Ambazonian to read that piece. It's a wonderful thing. Maybe I should say a few words in Bikram. Yongnakir means thank you. That's all I can say. It's a great thing, and I like that. I like that. We should also learn. We have to understand this. That's why we come to ABC every week, and I would like Ambazonians on the home front to listen to what we say. It is impossible that we can all sit on this side of the table and make changes or bring resolutions without the people on the home front actually knowing the direction we are taking. The reason being, if there is something that they don't agree with, they have the opportunity to call us so that we can discuss it. But when I see a persistent lack of understanding of the position of the interim government, at times we feel that is deliberate. We should not. Remember, this fight for independence, it is not a personal thing. So if you don't agree with the interim government, but if you are for independence, this is the place you have to be at. You have to be able to judge for yourself and draw a conclusion whether the other splinter groups are actually fighting for independence. Don't go on rhetoric. Go on practical issues. Look for real examples to match what they say, to match what they say. So I believe that a lot of Ambazonians, if not most of them, now they understand the position of the interim government. And we've made it very clear over the past 9 months since we've been on air trying to redirect the position of the IG. So I would hope that when you come to this forum, when you listen to us, you listen with an open mind and you take the facts. You have the opportunity to find out more about us. You can call individuals or you can go into forum and put your comments there. So it is important that Ambazonians understand this. So don't come here with disguised as somebody else and trying to give the impression that you can give us the direction we have to take. It takes a lot of time, a lot of reflection for us to put out a position paper on our struggle. So it is not a one-man show. It goes through a lot of iterations. It goes through a lot of very, very powerful minds before we can come on board. Over to you, Casey.
Thank you. That was simply nicely summarized. That basically just summarized all the discussion points for this evening. So we'll take one last caller and then we would round up for today. And you'll see Dr. Mungwa again next week. Yes, you are live on ABC. Good evening and welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Make your point. You're live on ABC.
Yeah, I'm calling from Boya.
Okay. Could you go on with
Are you getting?
Yeah, we are getting you 100%.
Yes. Please, it's really a pleasure for me to get you people this evening.
You're welcome.
And I had a question which I want to ask you people, and I really want you to answer me. Because I am on ground zero. We are confused. I want to ask you, how many IGs do we have in Amazonia?
Okay.
There is only one IG.
One. Which one are we going to follow?
Is that your question?
The one
Yeah, that's
you are
my
talking
question.
to, that's the one you have to follow. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Again,
you listen to ABC for your response.
Okay. Looking at the true Ambazonia.
Do you want to respond, Dr. Mungwa, or you want me to take that?
Yes, I'm responding, and you can add on to it after. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can get you now. Carry on.
Okay, good. So only one interim government, and the interim government, the authentic interim government or undisputed interim government is the one he is talking to, which is responsible for, which comes on ABC television. As I said earlier, that it is very easy to know who we are. And you have to look at our actions, not only in talking to the Ambazonian people, but you have to look at us as a government. The different departments that we have. We have a department that deals with humanitarian effort. We have a department that deals with foreign affairs. We have a department that deals with the home office. So we have a government. I don't think there's any other splinter group that is as developed and as advanced as we are. And we have position papers. Whenever there is a controversial issue that affects the independence of our country, that will potentially affect the future of our country, the interim government comes out with a position paper. The reason for this is first is to educate Ambazonians so that they understand the possible challenges or the possible hurdles that we may encounter, so that we should be able to avoid them, so that we don't get into unnecessary problems. Over the past 60 years, we have discovered that La République practiced what we call the bait and switch diplomacy, where they tell you one thing and they do something totally different. And that's why today I was able to enumerate exactly what has happened to us between 1960 and 2022, from the aborted Fumban conference all the way to the Swiss-led process. That is what a government does. A government does not only come out there to insult people and then go back and only waiting for another opportunity to insult people and making unnecessary declarations on television. You have to understand the difference. So you have to know the difference between a government and an activist group. Okay, we are not an activist group. We take care of our people on the ground zero, regardless of the minimal resources that we have. We perform drafts every weekend to look for money so that we can run our government, so that we can work with the diplomatic corps. And we have inroads in the diplomatic community and other international stakeholders so that we can sell our story, because this independence is not just going to be us alone. We need partners overseas so that they can support us, so that they can push us, so that we can all work together to go back to our country as a free country. That is what a government does. You tell me which other group is doing what we're doing. If you can answer that question, I think you'll be able to determine who the real interim government is. Over to you.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Mungwa. You have summarized it, and I just wanted to add on this aspect. Every time we take calls from home fronts, from everybody watching us, we've stopped taking calls for today, but I'm just going to round up. We've always have somebody asking, one of them, why is the interim government not reaching out to all the others in small groups of individuals, some of them groups of friends? Why is the interim government not doing this or that to bring unity? And others will be saying, why? And like this comrade just asked, who to follow? That's a very funny question, because the interim government has been consistent since the day of the existence of a governing body within the Ambazonian liberation struggle. And if now someone says who to follow, one, you are either like Dr. Mungwa said, deliberately refusing to understand the structures, the characteristics, and the characters within the Ambazonian liberation struggle, because so much has happened, and a lot of education, especially on ABC Amber TV, to let our people understand that these are not normal times. These are extraordinary times. If you find yourself remaining on the side of ignorance in this day of information overflow, then it's totally your choice, and it is an expensive place, and it's very dangerous. So when our people come and ask questions, who to follow, ABC Amber TV is not a place for such question. We appreciate other people's views and opinions, other groups of people choosing to approach the liberation struggle in whichever way they deem fit. But who is bringing the results? Who is doing what that is required to take the freedom course ahead. And that's what Dr. Mungwa have just articulated of how the interim government is doing everything within their capacity, even beyond, to see that the liberation movement is making the necessary progress that it has to make. So, fellow Amazonians, this is not the hour, nor the time, or even the place to accommodate or to have ignorance for an excuse. It is absolutely not the time. I mean, we have seen the barbarism and the wickedness of La Republique in ways that we've never known before. We have also learned our history, how our fathers were duped at Fumban. We have seen how they started from that moment, trying to liberate us when they realized the federation and eventual unity with La Republique is definitely going to work against our people. And we cannot come at this point in time when we have restored our nation, our government, and now we need to just liberate our territory, and we're asking who. If your tribal beliefs, your religious belief system, or whatever you draw you close to somebody else besides the logic or besides the strategy of our liberation struggle, then that is also your choice and you are totally free to do so. But that question is becoming absolutely unnecessary for anybody to be at this time watching ABC Amber TV asking who to follow. We are here for the liberation struggle. The interim movement is doing everything within its capacity to see that we make progress. And we have people who are looking for an excuse to not participate, to not do what they are called to do, expected to do at this time, trying to use the choices of others, wicked choices of other groups.
Yeah, one more thing, Casey. I think let's say a few things here that our viewers should be aware of. And the fact that La Republique stayed out of the Swiss-led process for 2.5 years before declaring that they were not going to be part of it, you see very clearly that it's a delay tactic by the La Republique government. They know very well exactly what we want. So they're just, yes, they're actually just buying for time. That's what they're buying. They think that they thought that over 3 years we would have been disseminated, and now they'll just walk across Amazonia. But of course, unfortunately for them, it's the reverse. We're actually gaining strength now. We're gaining strength both at the home front and diplomatically. So if they thought their strategy was to weaken us and play for time, so that they can just run what we call in American English steamrollers, it's not going to work. So we're aware of it. The Indian government is aware of it. And they look for people like the gentleman who just made that comment to sort of agitate, to create some sort of a false narrative that, oh, we are, people are suffering. Do you know how much people suffered in South Africa before they had independence? Do you know how much people suffered in Sudan before they had independence, or Eritrea before they had independence? We have been in this war for 5 years plus, or getting to 6 years. And yet we are already having a lot of diplomatic inroads. And we are getting to a point where we believe that we can see the silver lining at the edge of the dark clouds. And somebody is saying, oh, people are suffering. Do you think that if we stop it now, life will be better for you? Do you know what La Republique is going to do? Even that gentleman who is speaking, he will be destroyed. He will be taken as a slave. And is that what he's looking for? If that's the sort of environment he wants, may as well just migrate to La Republique and declare himself a slave, and then he can remain there for the rest of his life. This is not what we are fighting for. We have dedicated our lives, we have dedicated our resources to make sure that you at the home front will be able to have a free life. we may as well just wash our hands and stay away from home. So you have to think, who are these people who are fighting for the future of our country? We are fighting for future generations to live happily. That is the point here. And you cannot be in a sea and in the middle of the ocean, you say, oh, I can no longer paddle my canoe. So where do you want to go? Jump into the water and drown? We have to get to shore. It is important that we get to shore. And that's why the interim government, under the leadership of Dr. Sako, he is the captain and he's well aware of the challenges that he has, and he's going to sail this ship to the shore. And that's what we have decided to do. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mungwa. And you can just make your closing remarks. I will not be taking any further calls, and then we'll round up.
Oh, thank you, Casey. I think very good and interactive session this afternoon. Fellow Ambazonians, our dear ARFs, remember, you are at the center of this revolution, and we have a lot of faith in you. Over the past 3.5 years or more, or since the Swiss-led process was initiated by Dr. Sako, you have seen our performance on the international scene. You have seen the way we have worked so hard to bring international partners or international stakeholders to look into what is happening in our country. We had Resolution 684. We had the temporary protected status for Ambazonians, and now we are even going much further to get another big win for us. The idea is, and we want to let you know, we are certain that we are going to have this independence. Is not if, but when. Okay, so I want to assure Ambazonians that we are not leaving any stone unturned. We are using all our resources in terms of the people who we know they can make a change in Ambazonia to make sure that either the right legislation is passed or that the right resolutions are drafted in order to make sure that this independence is true, because it is factual. We are not lying. We were a Class B territory, and we deserve to have our full independence. No matter what happened in the past, we have to fix it, and that's why the interim government is here. Thank you one more time. Happy Independence Day. Over to you.
And with that report, we have come to the end of Undaunted tonight. But before we go, here is a recap of our major stories.
Ambazonians respect Monday lockdowns and keep fit. Monkeypox outbreak reported in the Atlantic zone of Ambazonia. A letter has been written to Pope Francis Bishop B.B. Michael of Boya.
Today as well, we looked at the question of leadership with the Ambazonian movement. Sometimes it creates controversy. Well, this was reviewed today as we compared it with the story of Nelson Mandela. Also today, in the neighboring La République du Cameroon, we told you that a man has wreaked havoc at the police station as ID card production witnesses prolonged delays. Also today, we told you that La République du Cameroon terrorist soldiers intensifies hunts for no pity. And during Dr. Martin Mungwa's weekly briefing, he looked at the topic, the interim government's updated war plan using the language best understood by the International Committee. And that was it for tonight Undaunted, bringing to the news untold stories. On behalf of Michael and Christopher Smith and the entire Undaunted crew, we say thank you for being part of today's show.
We'll leave you with ABC Amber TV images. Good night and God bless you.